Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and my guest today is Jeromy Farkas, who is one of the candidates running for Mayor of Calgary in the upcoming fall election. Thanks, Jeromy, for joining us today.
Well, thanks so much for having me again, Mario.
Okay, let's talk about priorities. What would be your top priority if you were elected mayor?
So, a lot of the candidates for mayor are going to be talking a lot about similar issues around affordability, around housing, safety. My first priority is going to be all of those things, but to do any of that, we're going to have to build the team. We're going to have to build a city council that's willing and able to work together to pull in the same direction, and that's really going to be the mayor's first focus. So, building the team, assembling city councilors across a political spectrum. Like we're likely to inherit a city council with two, maybe three different parties represented. And once that is established, once we can pull in the same direction, then we can work together on those priorities. Things like resetting City Hall and getting it focused back on Calgarians. And too often over the past 4 years, we've seen a lot of theatrics, we've seen division, we've seen petty fights instead of results. And in that first 100 days for not just the mayor, but all of council, you're going to have to see action on the basics. Things like fixing potholes and sidewalks, boosting snow clearing, improving safety downtown and on transit, repealing and replacing blanket rezoning with a more community informed approach, as well as better bringing Calgarians into the decision making process. So things like publishing a transparent, easy to understand budget so people know exactly where their dollars go. But overall, Calgarians deserve a mayor who is willing and able to bring this council together as a team to be able to get those results. And that's the focus. It has to be on the things that matter most to Calgarians: safe streets, reliable services, and household costs we can afford.
Okay, blanket rezoning, your position on that, and will you repeal it?
Yeah, I've been very clear in favor of a repeal of blanket rezoning. It's very clear that it's not built the amount of homes at the price point, at the speed, and in the location the Calgarians need to keep housing affordable. And on the city council, we've seen really two entrenched groups. We've seen, on the one hand, the mayor who suggests that in order for us to build, we have to ignore the community. And we see other folks like Sonia Sharp who say that for us to listen to the community, it means that we can't build anything anywhere. So we need to repeal blanket rezoning. And we also have to have a plan for how we can build the housing in the right locations where the services and infrastructure can support it. So at the end of the day, housing is really about certainty. And that's why my plan focuses on certainty for homeowners, for renters, for builders, for the nonprofit sector, and to push back against this blanket approach, because this blanket approach has only created confusion and division. So zoning alone is not going to be able to solve the housing crisis. We need to restore certainty with community-driven growth that matches infrastructure and services, and also has protections for renters from sudden hikes, faster permitting for good builders, and better partnerships with the nonprofit sector. So housing is really that foundation of opportunity. And as mayor, I'll work to make sure that every single Calgarian has the stability and affordability that they need without blanket rezonings forced on neighborhoods.
Infrastructure from roads to water, to transportation. What's your what's your thoughts on the state of the infrastructure in this city right now, and what's your game plan for that?
Well, over the last 4 years, we had about 300,000 brand new Calgarians move to the city. Our next mayor and council is going to welcome Calgarian number 2 million, but more than just a number, a new neighbor, somebody just like my father, who may have came here as a refugee or an immigrant coming to help build up the city. But it's very clear that this mayor, Mayor Gondek, including councilors like Councilor Sharp, have not had a plan to be able to address that infrastructure. Look, how do we have $1 billion for a brand new arena, for the vast majority of the profits going to the private ownership, but we don't have the money to actually take care of our pipes? Back in 2018, I advanced a lot of the work to be able to prevent some of the issues that we saw, particularly around the aging water infrastructure. Right now, it's upwards of a third of the water that Calgary produces in our water system is actually lost due to seepage. So we really need to address that. And my plan really focuses on practical steps. So addressing roads, addressing water, addressing transportation. And we got to stay ahead of growth. So it's about being proactive. It's ensuring that we're spending the money on the right things, And look, I support the event center. I think we're going to need a new rink, but we got to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. It makes no sense at all why Mayor Gondek and Councillor Sharp would be supporting a brand new arena at the expense of local facilities, things like Pacova or the Inglewood Pool. We got to do both. And as mayor, I'll focus on fixing what we have, building smart where we need it, and making life more affordable for every single Calgarian by investing in infrastructure.
Okay, let's talk. Speaking of infrastructure and transportation, we have the Green Line. What are your thoughts around the Green Line and moving that forward?
So in terms of the big picture, this is a partnership. So it's a partnership with the provincial and the federal government. And this is a critical project for a future. And it needs to be put back on buildable, credible footing. I'm running as an independent so that I can work with both a liberal prime minister and a conservative premier to be able to get things done. And that is the key part of this project is the breakdown in relationships. So job number one is really working with the province and the feds to restore confidence in the project and really phase it out responsibly so that we actually deliver service for the Calgarians who need it instead of just endless disputes. We also need to be thinking more proactively for the areas that aren't covered under the first phase. So we need to integrate bus rapid transit to be able to feed into the line so that riders get reliability and convenience from day one. And we got to keep the focus on the value for taxpayers. No theatrics, no picking fights with the other government. We just need a mayor who will work with these partners to get this project done. And it's really about priorities and focus. It's very clear that this mayor and council have not had the right priorities, which has led us to this current chaotic situation with the Green Line. But done right, the Green Line is going to be able to support jobs, connect communities, and build a transit system that every Calgarian can rely on. And that's what I'd be advocating for as mayor.
Okay, one of the things that has Calgarians upset over the last few years is taxes, the level of taxes. Do you pledge to hold the line on taxes if you're elected mayor?
Well, Calgarians have known that I've always kept my promises, often at great personal expense. For example, being the only councillor to follow through on their commitment to decline the city council golden pension at great personal cost. It's very clear that the mayor and council, including councillors like Councillor Sharp, have not advocated for financial responsibility. Not to belabor the point too much on the arena deal, but how do we have the city taxpayer contributing 95% of the upfront cost for all of the proceeds going to the private ownership? That is not responsible financial management. So at this time, Calgarians are really stretched thin. Too many of us don't feel like we're getting good value, where we're paying way more, we're getting less. And my commitment's been clear in terms of the plans that I put forward to keep taxes low by making City Hall live within its means, focusing spending on essentials like safety, roads, and transit, and making our finances more open and easy to understand. And I think that this really came to a head recently when a motion supported by Councillor Sharp actually had a massive pay hike for the city manager passed behind closed doors. So it's very important that we have transparency in terms of how the money is being spent. And by restoring that discipline and transparency, our next mayor will be able to keep Calgary affordable and competitive while still delivering the core services that make our city strong. That's what I'm committed to do.
Okay, let's talk about City Hall. A lot of people think it's too huge, it's inefficient. We have so many stories about building permits taking so long to go forward. First of all, what do you think of the way City Hall operates these days, and what would you do about it?
Well, one of the reasons that I actually ran for city councilor in 2017 was having been a small business entrepreneur myself, being frustrated with the roadblocks that were put up in front of me and many of my fellow people in the mid 20s. We had a project that we wanted to be able to get off the ground here locally that would have been able to make us some money, give us a job, offer something of value, and it was City Hall that stood in the way of that. And for too many business owners, the process is too costly, it's too slow, too frustrating. And Calgarians really see it every day in delays, red tape, and often processes that really discourage investment. So it's very clear that we need to introduce clear service standards. We need to create things like a public dashboard so that people can see permitting performance, so that we can move on from serial reviews to more concurrent ones that will mean that projects don't sit in limbo. And I also want to lean into the fact that our City Hall colleagues are part of the solution here. We really need to empower staff to be able to solve problems, not just push paper, and make City Hall easier to work with, whether you're a home builder, a small business, or even a volunteer community group. And it's that whole broad spectrum, not just business, that we need to keep in mind. It's part of why in my platform, I'm pledging to make Calgary one of the best cities in North America to be a community volunteer for community associations. For example, Calgary is one of the only major Canadian cities where you actually have to pay to be a volunteer to go through the vulnerable sector checks to be able to work with youth serving organizations. So there's ways that we can work better with the community. And as mayor, efficiency at City Hall is a very important thing for me. It's about getting things done faster, more cost effectively, and better for Calgarians. And that's absolutely what I'm committed to do.
Now, another issue that seems to keep growing and getting bigger by the day is public safety and crime, whether it's on the LRT line, LRT stations, or whether it's just straight in the, in the core downtown. This is a big issue. What do you plan to do about it?
Well, it's very clear that this mayor and council haven't had a plan. Look, we've seen Mayor Gondek and Councillor Sharp really push more of the performative gestures. They knew that Calgary is the only major North American city without a downtown police station. And despite that, their focus has been on things like a day one climate emergency. It's been on things like a bailout for the flames. We really need to address crime and safety, and it's not going to be photo ops. It's going to be investment in the police, yes, but also in prevention. Safety is the absolute foundation of a thriving city. If people don't feel safe, nothing else matters. Right now, way too many Calgarians avoid the LRT or downtown because they don't feel secure. We've put out a very detailed safety plan. It involves tackling this head on, Mario. We need more community policing. We need to reopen that downtown police station. And we also need more eyes and enforcement to keep the eyes on transit. We need to also crack down on the repeat violent offenders while addressing, and this is the most important part, addressing the root causes through mental health and addiction support. And Mayor Gondek and Councillor Sharp to that prevention, or their cuts to that prevention, has brought us way backwards on this file. We need to lean in now on youth mentorship, on prevention programs. Of course, we need to be tough on crime, but we also need to be tougher on its causes. And now is the moment for mayor and council that is willing to drive a Calgary that's safer so that all of us feel safe at home, at work, and in these public spaces.
So, bike lanes too are an interesting topic, especially in this city. What's your position on bike lanes, and can we expect to see more of them?
Well, mobility isn't about ideology. It's my view is to get government out of the way, let people decide for themselves what works best. Mobility has to be about safety. It needs to be about affordability and choice. I support bike lanes where they make sense, especially where they connect the network, and most importantly, give kids safe routes to school. That's a big, strong focus of our campaign, is safe streets for our kids. I want to live in a city where every parent in the city feels safe letting their kid walk or bike to school. So this is just so foundational. And it's part of my Vision Zero commitment to eliminate serious injuries on our roads. And at the same time, we need to look at the whole system, right? It's not about bikers at the expense of somebody else. We need to have a complete system that works well. So we need to ensure that drivers see roads maintained, that we implement smarter technology for traffic light synchronization. We need to make sure that commuters get better transit, and that our pathway system is improved for everyone. So as mayor, I'd advance a balanced approach, mobility that's practical, safe, and affordable for everyone, not one group at the expense of another.
What's your opinion, Jeromy, of the current mayor's performance and the city council's performance over the last few years?
Well, to look at the last 4 years, we got to look at the first day of the last 4 years, which was on day one. The Mayor Gondek and Councillor Sharp advanced that day one, empty, hollow climate emergency. The last 4 years have been marked by divisions, theatrics, grandstanding. It's left Calgarians having to pay more and get less. And that so-called climate emergency declaration, it produced headlines, but Mario, no real action. And the fights with other governments, especially the federal and provincial governments, have left us without results on key projects. So 9 city councilors choosing not to run again really tells you how dysfunctional this council has become. So I've learned from my time on council, I've learned in my time as a wilderness first responder, in nonprofits, as a CEO, that leadership is about building teams. It's about attacking problems and not people, and working across those divides to get results. And that's the approach I'll bring as mayor: independent, collaborative, and focusing on delivering for Calgarians.
The last question I have for you, Jeromy, is why should people vote for you?
Because I'm ready to lead a council that works for Calgarians, not for political parties, insiders, or special interests. I've proven that I can stand up for transparency and accountability. I've shown that I keep my promises, not just when it's easy to do, but at great personal expense, like with that decision on the golden pension. I've shown that I can bring people together across the political spectrum, and I've built a plan that's focused on the basics, things like safe streets for our kids, reliable transit, household costs we can afford, even parks and public spaces that connect us. And at City Hall, I legitimately believe that there's no left, no right, only forward, only together. So I grew up in Dover in a newcomer family, and I've been blessed with so many incredible opportunities in the city. And my job as your next mayor will be to make sure that every Calgarian has that same chance to live in a safe, affordable, opportunity rich. And that's why I'm ready to be your mayor.
Thanks for joining us today, Jeromy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mario, and thanks for all the great work that you're doing profiling all of us.
Thank you. That was Jeromy Farkas, who is a candidate for the mayor of Calgary election coming up in October. Thanks for joining us today.